So let's take a look at this video and then we'll come back. Let's see what we have here.
The survey, which was conducted between December 2021 and January 2022, targeted over 15,000 adult population who are aged over 18 years across the country. In all, 23 public institutions were taken into focus, with the Ghana Police Service ranked number 1 with over 53% rate. The Ghana Immigration Service Office followed on the rankings with over 37% rate of bribe-related cases, and the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority followed closely with 34%. The report further disclosed that the prevalence of bribery in Ghana is 26.7%, which meant that 1 out of 4 people who had contact with a public official in the 12 months prior to the survey had been asked to pay a bribe or asked to pay bribe but refused to do so. The survey estimated that an amount of 5 billion Ghana cedis were paid as bribes in the year 2021.
These are the public education issues that we need to focus on so that we put these into its right context.
Let me say,
the rankings with
look at the police officers. They are literally at the top, right? 53%. This is a lot, right? The police officer, can you blame them? They're not making enough. They're not making enough to take care of themselves. What do you expect? It's just common sense. And also immigration office. You know, we have a lot of data, a lot of content around Kotoka International Airport. And even though we haven't published them yet, you know, when I think about Kotoka International Airport, I think this is the airport of corruption. This is the airport of extortion. And I'm not really surprised that we have the Ghana Immigration Service number 2, right? And it's unbelievable. Let's see.
Months prior to the survey had been asked to pay a bribe or asked to pay bribe but refused to do so. The survey estimated that an amount of 5 billion Ghana cedis were paid as bribes in the year 2021.
These are the public education issues that we need to focus on so that we put these into its right context. We look at this again from the perspective of how it works. It is predominantly cash-based, with a very negligible percentage, about 15.2%, coming in other forms, as in food and drinks, exchange for other services, valuables, and animals. So the incidence of bribery is predominantly through cash payments.
So basically, if you eliminate cash, right, you could be able to track this bribery. You could be able to track the monies that are being given as bribes, right? So that would require the government to implement a lot to invest in systems that can allow them to track, right? This is terrible. This is one of the reasons why Ghana would never ever, unless you eliminate this, it will never happen. I personally believe that it's from the top to the bottom. If you go from the top, from the very, very top to the bottom, to the child that was born today in Ghana, right? Unless you have systems in place. Ghana is not also developed enough, it's not advanced enough, it's not technologically built enough to be able to eliminate cash, right? I know one thing about the Netherlands, they're doing everything that they can to eliminate cash completely. Right? There are people that don't really want it. There are people that are fighting against the system. They're just like, wait a minute, this is my own money. I work extremely hard to earn this money. Right? You cannot tell me that I cannot be able to have cash. Also, the old generation, they are comfortable dealing with cash instead of digital currency, if you will, right? Instead of dealing with cashless systems. They don't, first of all, they don't trust the banks. They have all the reasons not to, right? But the people that are supposed to take care of the country, like in Ghana, they are the ones who are collecting bribe, right? Even from food. Right? So you can bribe with almost anything.
Then the highlights. A total of roughly 5 billion Ghanaian cedis was estimated out of the 17.4 that I talked about as the value of bribes that occurred in 2021.
Outlining the survey, government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim says the government must be concerned and must of necessity put in place policies to tackle the menace.
The take-home message here is that it is...
Look, if you have a country like Ghana, where Ghana doesn't have strong institutions, policies do not work. Ghana is almost like a lawless country. Policies do not work. There's no way you can get policies to work. Even the politicians themselves, the people who are writing all these policies, who are supposed to implement them, are not implementing them. What do you expect? They themselves live on bribery, partly because of greed, partly because of corruption, partly because of, for whatever reason. Policies are not really going to work. You need systems. You need strong institutions. You need system of transparency, system of accountability. And without these systems, there is absolutely nothing that you can do. Ghana also doesn't have a very good distribution system. One of the things that I have actually learned looking at all these countries that are doing very, very well, looking at including a country like the Netherlands, where you cannot bribe a police officer. I'm not really saying that it doesn't really happen. It has to be like a lot of money in order for them. But an immigration officer, you go through the airport, most of the time nobody actually stops you. You're dealing with a machine. The machine will just scan you, look at your face, scan your face, and then that's it. But if you have a country like Ghana, where Ghana doesn't have a very good distribution system of the resources that Ghana has, what do you expect? You will have almost everyone, right? Even your family members, right? If you have family members, they're just trying to scam you, partly because they are desperate or partly because they are greedy. What do you expect, right? Policies will never ever work in Africa. Policies will never ever work.